key. It is my pleasure to introduce to you a young lady that is going to come up and share her story about building community, and a lot of the story that she's going to tell today is your story as well. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for Heidi Stuber. Heidi.
When Arzu wrote me and asked me to speak today, she asked me to talk about hope. And a lot of you don't know me, but my son up there, who's 11 years old, has been kicked out of 6 schools. He's been on 5 different medications. He's been to the ER at Seattle Children's Hospital 4 times and has been admitted to the behavioral medicine unit 3 different times for a total of 25 nights. Some of you will know what this means. He has the special distinction of being on a very short list of children who has been kicked out of the child behavioral school and aspiring youth. He suffered from abusive restraint in school and now has PTSD and can't even walk into a school building. So when Arzu wrote me and said, "I'd like you to speak about hope," my first instinct was to write back and say, "Whoops, think you meant to write to a different Heidi." But the truth is, hope is different for families like mine. The hope I had for my son when he was a baby is different than the hopes I have now. My hopes are different than they were 5 years ago, and they're different than they were before he suffered from PTSD. Hope is trusting and believing that good things are going to happen. I think of delusional hope as trusting and believing that good things will happen despite evidence to the contrary. And I think of autism hope as trusting and believing good things will happen because you're going to do your damnedest to change the evidence to the contrary. And so when I think about hope for my son, and I reflected on this, I thought a lot about this question of inclusion in the community. Knowing that there's a place like EEU gives me hope that other children won't experience the revolving door of schools like my son did. Knowing about something like autism at work gives me hope that my son can find a place to be employed in his adulthood. But right now he's 11, and my hopes are very tween-sized. I hope that he can go to 1 class at a school building next year. I hope that he can continue to see his friends every week. And I hope that he'll stop breaking into my Netflix account and watching R-rated movies. When I think about hope, I think a lot about my personal community. My son has 4 friends, 4 lifelong friends, and that's a lot less than I hoped for when he was a kid. And that's a lot more than a lot of people in my community can hope for. On the one hand, including a child with autism is so simple. It's saying, I checked our fall calendar and we can schedule a play date with you every single Tuesday. It's saying, we have Sunday brunch at our house every single week and you're invited every time you need to come. It's my brother bending down to look my son in the eyes and saying, Isaac, you are welcome in our house every single time, no matter what. But including a son like mine is also really complex. It means talking to your children about what acceptance means when my son gets dysregulated and curses at your kids and locks himself in your bathroom. It means having a family rule that everybody comes and sits at the table when dinner is ready, and ignoring my son when he refuses to follow that rule, no matter what I say or do. It means telling your children, you cannot watch TV or you cannot play Wii all weekend because your cousin Isaac is here and he needs the basement to be a quiet space when his sensory system gets overwhelmed. And sometimes those complexities can really weigh on a family in our community. A lot of people in my community have told me 2016 was a hard year, and they have global concerns, and they have national concerns. And there were some low points for a lot of people in my community in the last month. But my low point was in September, when my son wasn't invited to his best friend's birthday party. And that was because a few weeks earlier, my son was at the park with his best friend Seth and Seth's little brother Ian, who are part of a wonderful family that have been friends of ours our entire lives. And the kids were playing truth or dare. And if a kid wanted to do a dare, they were saying, oh, you're chicken, bok, bok, bok. And they were going around, they were on the merry-go-round, and there were several of them, and they were going around and they were doing it. And when my son wouldn't do a dare, and the kids all said, oh, chicken, bok, 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 he got overwhelmed. And when my son gets overwhelmed, he can't say stop. He can't get up and walk away. So what he did is he grabbed his friend Ian, who was 8 years old, right around the head, right here. And he wouldn't let go. And I had to intervene, and I had to take him away. And Isaac was distraught, and his friend Ian was distraught, and we had to go home separately. And my friend, their mother, had to say to me, Heidi, we got to take a break. This was too hard on our family. And so we had to take about a month apart. And during that time, her son had his birthday party, and my son couldn't go. And my friend Charity and I, the mother, I kept going after it, and I said, okay, we're going to talk about this, we're going to fix this. And there was a point where I thought, maybe it's not fixable. But that's not what inclusion is. Inclusion is not walking away when things get hard. And I wasn't willing to walk away, and she wasn't willing to walk away, and our kids especially were not willing to walk away from an 11-year friendship. And so that mother and I had to meet 3 different times. First we met over drinks. And my friend said to me, I thought you were going to be really mad, Heidi. And I said, you know, I'm not mad, I'm just really sad, heartbroken. And she said, you know, if you had been mad, that would have been okay too. Because that's what inclusion looks like. And after we met 3 times and we had this whole scaffolding back into this relationship, which first it had to be at our house and not when the little brother was there, and then it was just for 2 hours, and then it was at her house. The first time my son was at her house and he heard, not his friend, but his little brother's voice coming in the door, and he hadn't seen him for over a month since he had grabbed him. Him and his friend were actually playing in this dog crate, and they were seeing if they could both fit in the dog crate and how many other things they could fit in the dog crate because they're 11. And so my son heard his friend Ian's voice, and he said, Seth, move, I have to get out, I have to get out. And he ran from the back of the house to the front door. And he said, Ian, I am so sorry I grabbed you. And Ian said, it really hurt. And Isaac said, I know, and I'm sorry. Because the thing about inclusion is to include a neurodiverse person in your community, you have to be adaptable. You have to be willing to make accommodations. You have to accept neurodiverse ways of doing things. And you have to be able to start over again and again and again. And it's tempting to categorize children like my son as receiving all the benefit, and children like my friend's sons as giving all the benefit. But that's not what the people in my community say. I actually asked them, what are the biggest benefits of having Isaac in your community? And my friends, the first thing they all said was, well, we get to know Isaac because he's funny, and he's loyal, and he's adventurous and brave. My friend Rachel said, Isaac shows my kids a model for self-advocacy and positive coping skills. One of my friend's fathers said, when we're at the grocery store and we see a kid having a hard time, my kids don't think anymore, what's wrong with that kid? They think, maybe he's like Isaac. Maybe there's something going on for him that we don't understand. And so when people include neurodiverse people in their community, they become more empathetic. They see a bigger picture of the world. They get more thoughtful and kinder. And we all know that including neurodiverse children and the adults benefits everyone in that community. When I asked the mother of my son's best friend, Seth, and this other boy, Ian, what's the benefits for your family of knowing Isaac? She said, because we have somebody like Isaac in our lives, we get to learn how to love somebody all the way. through all the good things and all the challenging things. She said loving somebody like Isaac all the way means building pillow forts and jumping off cliffs into lakes, and it also means visiting him in the hospital. And it means learning what it's like to have a big conflict with a friend and to have a big repair. And that's the sort of benefits that my family sees about having community in our lives. And an organization like WAAALL is really supporting lots and lots of families like mine, and so that we can build these communities. It helps us get the services we need from our insurance companies so that our children can build the skills to be in community. And it helps support parents at schools so that we can keep our kids in communities there too. And it really is life-changing for families like mine.